Hello, everyone, and welcome to TransurfingTV. I am here with my my new Transurfing BFF, Xavier Waterkane, the international man of mystery, the questionable accent, yes, and the bitchin' tiger snuggly outfit that he will model for us later, because I saw you were wearing it again today.
How did you know I was still wearing it?
I can see, I have x-ray vision through the Zoom call. I can see it down there. So with that, this is going to be a Q&A. We are taking callers or people that have any questions about reality transurfing itself, or how to apply these amazing concepts to their lives practically. So you can ask us anything. This is going to be live and uncut, but cut. So feel free to let go. And if something screwy happens, we'll edit it out or not. It just sort of depends. So with that, who has a question? Who would like to go first? I'm just going to start pulling people if nobody goes first. Okay, Jonathan, you are first. If you would like to keep your camera turned off, feel free. Otherwise, please unmute yourself and turn your camera on and ask us your question. Hey, there you are. Oh my gosh, I've never seen you. I've never actually seen your face. Nice to see you.
I have not looked in a mirror today, so sorry.
You're good. You're good.
I don't have any questions.
Oh, really?
Where are you calling from?
I came totally unprepared.
Okay.
Where are you calling from?
I'm in New Jersey. I'm about 12 miles outside of New York City.
Awesome.
Right. You're at 8 p.m. or thereabouts.
I'm sorry?
It's 8 p.m. for you or thereabouts.
It is.
Yes, and the Middle Eastern callers, it's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
I mean, what's a day anymore?
Exactly. I mean, yeah. We should just do one time zone and everybody just has to adjust to whatever light or darkness there is outside.
Maybe since there aren't any questions, and this is like the second time this has happened where somebody's calling in that I have a question, which is perfectly okay. Maybe I should talk about that exercise that I talked about earlier, and maybe that will spark a discussion.
Yes, let's do that. Let's do that.
All right. Okay. So I proposed a few days ago that I was going to introduce to the transurfing community an exercise that you can do daily to strengthen your manifestation, materialization muscles. Because it's hard for people to adjust to a paradigm shift from being this idea that I am passive and that my reality is something imposed upon me to something where I can actively engage in the space of variations and actually come up with an experience of reality. So this exercise is called the orange on a white plate, and it will become very clear why this is called orange on a white plate in a minute. It's about 13 steps. They're all very quick, so that you should be able to go through this entire exercise in about a quarter of an hour. The first step is you simply look at the reality around you without judgment. You just take a moment to take it all in and say, okay, this is what it is. This is what's going on, whatever. Second step, you decide what you might want to change or what might be missing. For the purpose of the exercise, decide that what you want to materialize in your life is an orange on a white plate.
Got it.
The next thing is that you commit to that. You commit to that manifestation or materialization. The next thing you do is that you go through the process of the framing, creating the frame. So creating the frame involves all of the senses. So you start with the visuals. Visualize an orange on a white plate. Look at it from all its angles. Look beneath, above. Don't just have a singular one camera view. Turn it around in your head. Once you go through vision, go through audio. Now, obviously, oranges don't make any noise. So the idea is to imagine yourself saying, oh, I have an orange on a white plate. How marvelous. Then you can employ your sense of smell, which is always very powerful because it's an underused sense. And it's very, very closely connected to your experience of reality at a very visceral level. So you smell the orange, you give that, you put your nose right up against that imaginary orange and give it a good whiff, and you smell an orange smell. Taste, put your tongue up against that orange. Really, really imagine your tongue against the feeling of the orange. Not only the tongue's taste, but also the sensation of the orange as it hits your tongue. It's mouthful. Then finally, you go to the full tactile and you touch the orange, you touch the white plate, you feel the coldness or the warmth of the plate, you feel the texture of the orange. After you've done that, you really need to go into the emotional space. How does it feel to have the satisfaction of knowing that an orange on a white plate has entered your life? And finally, then you let that go. Once you've had that image and you've played around with it, you just let it go. You just release it. Now, the next thing is you've committed to all of these steps. You've put it away. Now you open yourself up to the space of variations and openness of reality and allow the orange on a white plate to come to you whichever way it might. We've discussed this before many times that, for example, you might be walking down the street and there's a fruit store and you decide to buy an orange. Somebody might give you an orange. An orange might fall from the heavens. There may be any number of ways that the orange might come, any number of ways that the white plate might come to you. And when the orange on the white plate finally turns up and you've taken the necessary inspired steps to materialize or manifest that orange on a white plate, then you complete the frame. It's there, you've embraced it, it's there, it's now actual, it's materialized, it is there in your experience. And you then take a moment to feel gratitude for the fact that you've been very, very clever in being able to do this. So you can congratulate yourself for a little bit and then just feel the gratitude that this orange on a white plate is now in your reality. Now, I have prepared earlier an orange.
You're going to do it live?
And a white plate. So having done all of that, this is what you would do when it actually shows up. You put the orange on the white plate and you think, you do everything that you visualized. You complete the frame. So look at it from various angles. Hear yourself saying, oh, I have an orange on a white plate. Great. You smell orange. You taste the orange. You feel the white plate. You feel its coldness.
I want to do this at a restaurant in front of a bunch of people.
Well, yeah. Now you might ask yourself, orange on a white plate, not that big a deal, not that great a manifestation, not that difficult, but that's just the whole point. The point is that if you practice on the small stuff, you strengthen those materialization muscles so that the bigger stuff comes more easily. And you might think, well, orange on a white plate, that isn't all that hard to do, but that might not be hard to find an orange if you're living in Florida, but it might be hard to find a fresh orange if you're living in Alaska, it's in the middle of winter.
Right.
So you can't assume that this is necessarily equally easy for everybody. And it doesn't have to be an orange on a white plate. You might try a variation. You might try, oh, look, a remote control on a white plate. You could decide, oh, a letter that I've been waiting all week to post and keep forgetting about on a white plate.
That's a good one. There you go.
Exactly.
How about a check on a white plate?
You can do a check. Exactly. This is where the thing becomes more meaty, because
stack of pennies on a white plate.
Exactly. The whole point is to practice a series of steps on something that you have no problem with.
Start small.
Start small, because part of obviously the process of framing is to accept and settle for that.
Yes.
If you're settling for that, yeah, if you're settling for that, then there's no question that it will come to pass.
Absolutely.
Right? And
You are choosing to see that. You are
yes,
choosing to see that appear in your layer of reality. Now, here's my question. To do it properly, it has to be totally done with outer intention, right? You can't inner intention it. You can't go and get the orange and put it on a white plate in your
well,
kitchen.
but this is where it becomes interesting, because it reverses causality. Normally, you think in order to do things with outer intention, you have to go through a series of steps and allow things to come to you. And normally we think of the past causing the future. But if you choose the white plate in advance, as I did just then, you're reversing the normal cause of causality, but you're still completing the frame. You're just doing it in backwards time.
Got it.
Right? Now, that's a hard concept for some people to wrap their head around, but it doesn't matter. If we're looking at the space of variations, which is a timeless realm, it doesn't matter whether the beginning causes an end or whether the end affects the beginning. I did this as a demonstration because I had no problem. There was nothing in my belief system that contradicted this materialization.
I understand. Yeah, I understand entirely what you're saying. There's no doubt or emotion that will eventually come to pass.
Exactly.
You
Importance.
take it further and do something even more simple than that.
Exactly. So importance suddenly,
plate, which would be like a lot more feasible.
Like what?
A drumstick on a, like something that you would normally eat.
Exactly.
Like something totally normal.
Exactly. You start with totally normal and then you get more and more bizarre.
Yes.
Because the only difference between bizarre and normal is that more normal has a belief system that there's no impediment to having it manifest.
Yes.
Bizarre is a belief system that it's going to be harder.
Love it.
So in the absence of the narrative, you've convinced yourself, well, gee, that was easy.
Yeah.
And then it comes back to that idea where that story about the lost laptop in the backpack, right?
Yes.
Which was a more advanced form of this.
Yes. Or the playing cards. The playing cards is the same thing.
The playing cards or the comb on the street appearing and indicating, oh, money's coming. You see, you can play around with the metaphors. You can even play around with the plate. I mean, why not have a silver platter? Orange on a silver platter.
Yes.
And you wonder where you're going to get the
silver platter.
Exactly. Where is the silver platter going to come from? You don't care.
Yes.
You open yourself up to the frame. You've made your frame. You've done that bit. Then you let outer intention do its work. And you allow, but the point is that if you do this every day, varying it, and it doesn't matter if you prepare things beforehand. At a certain point, you say, okay, today I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to prepare anything beforehand. And then you practice the outer intention, watching life as it presents these things that it easily come to you because there's nothing impeding it. You're getting out of your own way, but because you've practiced with things that were not in your way in the first place.
Yes, I like these kinds of simple exercises because I think that the one thing that they really do help me with is staying aware, because even if I forget about it, even if I set the intention to see something and then I forget about it, there's this weird, it's just softly there in the back of my mind. And then as soon as I see it, it's like I wake up, and I have a bunch of like visual things that pop up in my reality now that help me to wake up, It's
For
just
example?
like in my backyard, I have this big cement snail, like a giant statue of a snail. And I stand on the porch quite often. Like if I'm just, answering stuff on my phone or whatever, I'll go and stand on the porch. And I'm just constantly like reawakening myself every time I see that, or the stack of transurfing books, or my Tufty books, you know, I have stacks, or these, I mean, that's what this is about, really. You know, so I have all these like visual things that are around my home that constantly bring me back to that center screen, like over and over and over and over. And now it's really like, it's almost challenging for me to get too taken away from the center screen. Whereas in the past, it was more challenging for me to find it. And now it's like more like if I'm lost in my inner screen for half an hour, I'm like, whoa, that was weird. You know, like it's almost become sort of foreign to me. Like my state of awareness is pretty damn high at this point because of all these kinds of things. You know,
if you think about the center screen as that moment where you awaken, that you realize that you're walking in a dream, and that normal reality is a bit like a dream waiting for you to make it lucid.
Yes.
And if you think about what you would do in a dream state when you're asleep, when you would be coming up with a test to work out whether or not you are sleeping or awake, and you would pinch yourself.
It's the same thing. It's
the same thing. So having the things like the great concrete snail, oh, great concrete snail, or whatever it is in your life. And you could even have like an orange on a white plate as a trigger. Oh, that reminds me that, just wake up for a minute from your daydream reality and think, okay, there's something there. It could also turn into a symbol or a sign. If an orange suddenly appears in your experience, that you might say, that's the outer reality telling me that there's something coming.
Yeah.
Another metaphor is that you're on a boat in the ocean and you don't see land in sight, but suddenly a twig comes floating on the ocean, and you know that you have to be near land, even if you can't see it over the horizon, because that twig must have fallen off a tree that must have been growing on land.
Love it. Let's ask some of the others what they think. How about you, Jonathan? What do you think? Or do you have anything that's similar to this that you do?
I don't want to say anything that's going to like steer people off path. So
no, go for it.
It's pretty natural for me. The way that I am able to manifest is I just think to myself, well, that would be pretty cool if I could go talk about something that just happened. And if I'm not careful about what I think about, some weird things will happen. So I try to have cool things to talk about that aren't too weird. So that's really what it is. I mean, it's like, wouldn't it be cool if I could talk about this tomorrow to my friends who get it, and it'll happen. It'll happen in the weirdest way you can imagine.
Yes, I totally know what you're talking about. I just did it. I don't want to say what I did because it involves somebody that will be watching this most likely. But
oops.
Yeah, but I swear I don't know what I did exactly. It was a little bit of frailing, but it was more just like pure acceptance that variation of reality existed. And it was about somebody offering something to me. And I was like, okay, I want this person to offer me this thing. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll try to throw some frailing at it, like see if I can offer something. And it didn't really seem to work. And I was like, okay, that didn't work. And then I don't know, maybe like 2 days went by, and then they offered me the thing. And I was just like, whoa, what is going on? Like, how did that happen? You know, how did that happen?
Because you stop focusing on it.
Yeah.
It's like, if you focus your attention on something, it's like you're trying to force it to happen. And the second you stop thinking about it, like pretend you didn't know anything about reality transurfing and you lost something. Well, if you really try hard to find it, you're not going to find it. But if you forget about it, it's going to all of a sudden come to you like, oh, there it is. I remember where I put it now. Why? Yeah. Because it's not important. You've forgotten about it, and now it can happen. So.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. I had forgotten about it. Like the frailing thing didn't work. And then I sort of dropped it. And then like 2 days later, it was just like, boom. And I was like, oh God, that is so weird. Like transurfing, even after 5 years, it still blows my mind like all the time, you know? I mean,
that thing about it not working is an interesting indication that outer intention didn't want it to work either.
or that it was working, but my inner intention mind assumed that it wasn't, you know, because my will didn't make it happen. So I was like, oh, what's this? This isn't working. But in actuality, it was working the entire time, because something was transpiring and evolving, right? Something was happening in that period of 2 days or whatever. Now, I wasn't privy to that. So in my inner intention thinking mind, I'm like, oh, well, that was a waste, or that didn't work, or that was a fail, or whatever. But the thing was actually happening the whole time, which was a trip.
This idea of wouldn't it be cool if is a very powerful formula, because it's so light.
Right.
There's no attachment there. It's
Yes.
like, well, wouldn't it be cool if? Okay.
I'm making my own movie the way I look at it. You know, I'm scripting my own movie as it happens. And I try to think of ridiculous things that shouldn't normally happen and see if I can get it to happen. So I work in New York City. I get into an elevator. If one person is in the elevator that I've never seen before, I think it would be really cool if they struck up a conversation with me in New York City, where people don't talk to each other, let alone even make eye contact. Boom, it'll happen. They'll make some comments, you know, like, and it's just fun for me to see that happen and go, oh, there he goes. That's fun. You know, like nobody's going to talk about a conversation that was struck up in a New York City elevator, because they don't happen.
Yeah.
With a random stranger, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And it is fun. It really is fun, because even just the smallest little interactions or things happening, you're so entertained. It's so entertaining. Like on a deep level, as a human being, it's like extreme entertainment, yet nothing out of the ordinary seems to be happening, right? Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, talking to somebody in an elevator in New York is out of the ordinary, but you know, it's not like that crazy. It's not like money started falling out of the sky or something like that. It's odd, but it is in the realm of possibilities. But even just like being able to materialize a conversation on the spot, it's pretty entertaining, when most people wouldn't even really think twice of it, I don't think, you know.
And
Let's
then
hear what Ken has to say real quick. Oh, go ahead, Xavier.
No, I was just going to say, but it's a cumulative effect. You have so many of these experiences, after a while, it becomes your new normality. And
Yes.
then it becomes easier to believe things that are less probable, because they're no longer less probable, because they're your new normal.
Totally.
Right.
Totally.
And it's about, again, settling for a new normality, because you've just moved along to a track where that new normality is just normal. There's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to think.
Keep upping the bar. That's all I'm doing. You know, there's no reason that, you know, I have any of what all this stuff that I'm doing right now has just been me like upping the bar a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, and doing that consistently for a, you know, pretty lengthy period of time. Eventually some weird shit starts to happen, right? And just like,
I mean, have you ever just said, screw it, I'm going to go for something really, really big?
I am going to go for some. I am going. I told you, Jonathan, my Oprah thing. I'm going. Yep. I'm going to meet Oprah. I told you, Xavier, my Oprah.
Yeah, but I asked you that if she contacted you tomorrow, you'd still be going, right?
My orange, huh? What'd you say?
If she reached out to you tomorrow, you would still be doing this, though. So that's not really your end goal.
Well, yeah, because Brian Scott said that he could imagine me having a really big, like, you know, this is amazing feat of modern architecture, you know, building, and it's going to be the Transurfing Institute. And I'm like, oh, that's where Oprah comes in. She's going to fund that. So I've got all the pieces are like, you know, I mean, the pieces are kind of far away, but they're slowly just like moving in, you know. I mean,
once when somebody was asking me about a money issue, and the question was, where's that money going to come from? And the answer that came was, from wherever it is now.
Yes. Exactly.
So
it doesn't matter.
yeah, exactly. The elements, and it isn't really the elements are coming. What's happening is that you're moving to a track where the elements are already. So
Yes.
it's not. So people, it's again that you need to keep reminding yourself that the paradigm is not that reality is changing. It's that you are moving to a different reality track.
Yes. You're resonating with the thing more. Your thought quality is in line with you having the thing, and you are accepting that
And
variation.
all of these exercises, like orange on a plate or whatever, they're simply there so that you can get used to it.
Yes.
Get used to these transitions.
Those pathways just keep getting carved out and carved out and carved out and carved out.
You just get better at carving.
Don't try to manifest anything too big, too fast.
Well,
that's my advice.
Yeah.
You take baby steps, crawl before you toddle, before you walk, before
you have to get used to knowing how you go from one place to the other. And if you're not prepared for it, you try to do something way too big, it's going to be shocking. It is going to be,
and it can be very disrupting. Like somebody who's very clear at one level on winning of the lottery actually wins the lottery and then blows it all in a couple of years because they didn't have everything else in place.
Yeah. That's exactly, I actually talk about that in my money course. That's exactly, they're not resonating with that level at that frequency of that level of money. And
not consistently, not consistent.
Yeah, it just goes through their hands, and it gets reabsorbed back into the alternative space because they're not resonating at that frequency. So yeah.
So they fall off the resonance wagon, if you like.
Yes. I love that. Fall off the resonance wagon. That's my next video. Jen, did you have something that you wanted to ask?
Yes. So I'd like to kind of go back to that orange on the white plate. And Xavier, when you were talking about, you mentioned something, I think you said reversing causality. And it occurred to me then, okay, so if it doesn't really matter if it's the end that we're using to create the beginning or the beginning to create the end, but in this case, this exercise is using the end to create, then what are your thoughts on analyzing, doing like an analysis of, okay, I got out of a circumstance or an experience that was really awesome, but I had no conscious awareness that I was applying principles. So let me go back and see what I did to figure out what's sort of inherent or what I can do really easily without forcing myself in terms of applying principles of reality transurfing. And I find that I do this all the time. I get something I want, and then I'm like, well, what did I do? How did I do it? How did I get it? And so for me, analysis feels very valuable, but it is referring backwards, so there's very little thinking or focusing on the future. It's a lot of time spent in analysis. So what are your thoughts on that, and if it's beneficial?
If you're accustomed to manifestation, then it becomes as natural as your heart beating. You're not having to analyze. I mean, I don't know whether you saw the video that Renee and I did where I explained about how you digest a sugar molecule. You don't need to know all of this necessary. Oh, you need to go back to that. You need so
everybody tune into that prior. they're all good. There's 3 of them. But
the point I was making is that consciousness exists as a very thin layer over us of waves on an ocean of movement that goes quite deep, and you can, if you like, analyze the currents, and you can look at the things, and you might ask yourself what I did. But every time you ask yourself what I did in the past, it might not be something that's replicable for the future. Mm-hmm. If you understand what I mean.
Yes.
You don't want to fall into the trap of thinking, well, I did A, B, and C, and therefore I always got the D result, which might be fine. But if you think about it on a deeper level, no 2 results are ever the same. No 2 manifestations are ever the same, because we're constantly we're plunging through time at the rate of a second per second. And in the process of plunging through time, the universe externally, to the extent that we want to argue an external universe, is constantly changing. So no two moments are ever identical. Being in your position as you've described it, where there is seems to be so little thought involved, I would suggest that if it works, why fix it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's always been the problem.
Well, exactly. You think, oh, it's like saying, gee, my heart is beating really well. What if I just cut my chest open and start massaging it with my hand? No, there's no need to do that. You're already doing it. So what you might want to just focus more on is focusing on better stuff.
Yeah.
And confronting your beliefs about what is probable and improbable. Because that's in that frame of mind, you're lighting it up. We go back to, wouldn't it be cool if? Or it's easy to manifest an orange on a white plate. Or it's easy to walk through the streets and a playing card appears out of nowhere. Whatever it is, if it's easy, keep it easy. If it works, don't fix it. Don't overanalyze. Don't overfixate on it, because you might end up with paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
And I'm not arguing that people should stop thinking. Far from that. I'm simply saying that as you get used to these processes, you're constantly raising the bar of what's possible. It's not probable that somebody should decide one day to make a living as a writer. It's not probable that someone should one day decide to start up a YouTube channel on an obscure book written by a Russian 10 years ago that's only been recently translated into English. These are not probable events. If you were to play it safe throughout your entire life and just do the probable, well, you'd have a very probable life, but you wouldn't have an extraordinary one. You wouldn't have one where all sorts of things happen that otherwise wouldn't happen. You would meet people living across the other side of the Pacific and beyond who you otherwise would not have ever met. These are not probable things. They exist within the realm of the possible, though. So
I think they are just as probable, though. I think the only thing that's really, I think the only difference from your, improbable events, your perception or probable, is the fact that we think that they are either probable or improbable.
Exactly, which is exactly the whole point of these exercises and the whole point of doing this. You move from this place of a preconception where it's not probable to where it is quite possible, quite probable, to the point where it is inevitable. What we're looking at is different ways of getting into that inevitability space. If you get into the place where it's not just possible or probable, but it's natural and inevitable, it's as inevitable as taking the next breath. Do you question the fact that when you inhale, you're going to get a lung full of air? Do you ever question it? No, because it's so within the realm of what is natural and inevitable. So if you can do anything in life at that level, where things become, where the most superficially improbable things become as natural as inhaling, then you've got then you've got the keys to the kingdom. Then, baby, it's not going to get any better than that. At that point, you're entirely limited by your imagination.
Yes, I think that that's absolutely true. It has so much to do with the imagination. I mean, my life, the logistics of my life are pretty bizarre. Like the way that money comes to me, or the way that I spend my time, all these kinds of things. A lot of people are like, God, what do you do exactly? Like, what? you know, my boyfriend was saying to me the other day, he was like, I've never seen anyone deal with their finances like you do. I have this weird thing that I do where I don't concern myself with money at all. Like, don't even really think about it. I pay my bills and whatever, but I don't really think about money coming in. And then as soon as my bank account dips below an amount that I like, I go, okay, it's time to turn the money faucet on now. So then I turn the money faucet on, and this is me pumping energy into the different endeavors I have. And all of a sudden, all these things click like really fast and rapidly. And it's like a wave of fortune that happens really quick. And a bunch of money flows in, and then I'm satiated, and I got my bank account up, and I, you know, maybe do something a little special for myself or whatever. And then it's like the faucet just kind of turns off after it's gotten all of its money out. And then I wait until I feel the need to turn the money faucet on again. And then I do it again. So, and I know that to some people, you know, close to me, they're like, oh, so weird. You know, you don't have a conventional job. And then you do this thing where you just kind of kick into money mode, and then some money comes in, and then you get out of it, and then you get creative. So the reason I'm saying this is this now has become what was for me once, what for me was once seemingly improbable is now the thing that is consistent. Like, it is now my reality. It's now my mode of operation in regards to this one thing. And it's simply because I've done it, and I've like carved that out. I know what all that little stuff, the mechanisms of it and how it works and what my brain needs to do to make it work. And it works. And you know, and this is what I try to teach other people. You know, this is what I'm trying to relate to other people. Like, all you have to do really to create a different financial reality for yourself is start thinking in a very, very different direction about the whole thing. You know?
And I would argue that in the process of doing this, you would also be constantly slightly upping the ante.
Yes, exactly.
You say that you turn the faucet when the level dips below a certain level, but over time you're turning the faucet on at a higher level. So you're in the early days, it may be when you've got $10 in the bank, and then you move on, and then it's 100, and then it's 1,000, and then you don't turn the faucet on until 10,000, and then one day you've surfed your way into reality where you don't get out of bed for less than $10,000 a day.
Exactly. And that's all, you know, and I'm a good example. I use myself as an example because, you know, I grew up in poverty. So you know, back in the day, if I had $100 to my name, even when I was an adult, I was like, oh man, thank God I got that $100, you know? And now I just kept moving up and up and up and up and up. And it's because I've become more comfortable with these, this version of reality. But it's taken me some time. And that's the thing that I, you know, try to tell people, listen, this isn't about you fixing all your money problems right in this moment. This is about you taking a step in another direction and making a commitment to make a big change for yourself financially, how you feel about finances, how you make money, all that different stuff, and start taking those steps, because there's really only one way from point A to point B, right? You're not going to just all of a sudden you're there. You have to start doing exactly what you're talking about with that orange on the plate. You got to start doing that stuff. Or
and it doesn't just work with the money thing. It's like in your own personal history, you went from bizarro, creepy boyfriends to soulmate love of your life.
Exactly.
But you had to, and it doesn't sound great, but it basically, you had to practice with other people before you got to that level. And it wasn't really anything that was changing, but you.
Yes.
You were the one thing that was constantly changing and evolving, but at least you were evolving in a particular direction. At a certain point, you decided, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And you went in a particular direction that gradually led you to a higher level of materialization, not only of money, but of partners, love interests, and one could argue friendships.
Yes, everything.
Relationships, everything. But when you do everything holistically, when you don't just concentrate on one aspect of life and let everything else fall apart, you then have a much easier, more even ride. We all know cases where people who are extremely clear on money and make tons of it, but are complete disasters in their private lives. Their children are all heroin addicts. Their wives hate them. Their business partners are constantly trying to cheat them, and they live in this world of constant horror, which anybody else would look at and say, that's absolutely horrible. I don't care how beautiful the house you live in or how big the yacht is. It doesn't matter how clear you are on just money when everything else falls apart. And then we also know people who are very clear on love and have beautiful lives filled with love and affection and connection, but who just don't have much money around, and that's a cause of anxiety and concern.
Yes.
But if you can even things out a little more and say, wouldn't it be cool if, or that's a great idea, why don't I address that? Why don't I settle for that? Why don't I settle for this? You have a much more balanced life.
Yeah. And you're not, the way that I kind of came to look at it was with, quote unquote, bad things happening, like in business or with relationships. Those things could have just as much induced me, right? Send me into an induced transition where I started to, where I could have started to highlight more of the same exponentially in my reality and create just more and more and more, like more financial hardship, more dysfunctional relationships, more, problems connecting with people, more, whatever. And it was me sort of, holding firm to, I'm not going to settle for that. Like you said, I want to settle for more, right? And at least, even when things weren't going well, at least keeping in my mind that a better version of reality did exist, even if that's all I had, right? Even if that's all I had going at times, I was just like, fuck, this isn't right. This isn't right. I'm not accepting this. I don't know why it keeps happening. And the interesting thing is I really did blow through a lot of relationships and a lot of business deals and a lot of stuff. And people were like, whoa, how are you cycling through relationships like once every 9 months? Like that was my shelf life on a relationship, on my relationships at a certain point. And same with business stuff. Like I would go in and then I'd come out, and I'd go in and I'd come out, and I'd get involved in something and I'd come out, and people were just like, man, this is like, isn't it unstable? And looking back, I mean, yeah, it was unstable, but ultimately what it was leading me to do was get to the place I am now by constantly connecting with information and material and trying something and then getting something from that and then taking it and getting into something just a little bit better, taking from that and then getting into something a little bit better. And I just kept like, hopping my way up the lifelines. And then here I am.
I would argue, though, that that you weren't experiencing instability so much as dynamic stability, because stability doesn't necessarily have to look like a block of granite. Stability can be an active thing where you are stepping on other things, constantly moving. After all, the principle of a wheel is that it's constantly falling down.
Yes, true.
So a wheel, it has its stability through, and a gyroscope acquires its stability through constant motion.
Yeah, and sometimes we go up and sometimes we go down. But
sometimes we go up and sometimes we go down, and that's okay too. But what you are describing is a process whereby you might up, down, up, down, up, down, but the general movement was gradually upwards, or at least to a streams of reality that made more sense to you, that worked better for you. And really, this is what it's all about. All of this is just theory until you start practicing. And unless it's working, then it doesn't really have much value. So I'm always looking at the things, well, does it work?
Yeah. Does it? Yeah, exactly. Let's hear from a couple of people that are sitting there, so they don't feel like we're just ignoring them. Jen, are you leaving us? Oh, you just turned your camera off. Jay, Tejas, is that how you say it? Tejas? Tejas? Did you guys want to say anything?
Okay.
What next? What are we going to talk about next?
All right, that's up to you. Do you have any pre-assigned questions or things that you?
I do have those questions floating around here somewhere. Yes, I got a list of good ones. How do I use the mirror technique and allow life to meet me halfway?
You want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, all of this stuff is so, at a certain point, I actually decided that I was going to stop giving transurfing instruction because I felt that I knew the concepts so well that I couldn't explain them any longer. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Okay. That's an interesting
It was like trying to teach somebody how to ride a bike when you're like a cyclist. Like I couldn't actually teach it because it had become so second nature that it was causing me stress to have to think about the concepts. And when I hear stuff like this, that kind of gets triggered a little. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, so how do you do that? How do I explain how to do that exactly? So yeah, I mean, I'll just take a shot at it. So the one thing that I always stress with the mirror technique is that the mirror amalgam does not respond to our calls for it to relay to us something on our time frame, right? It doesn't understand time. There's no time. World, my world is taking care of me, right? Your world isn't gonna take care of you on your time frame. So you can, there always is that sort of like when you get a gym membership, right? And you start going to the gym and it's super painful for like the first few weeks because you don't see any results, you're like, oh God, I don't want to do this. It's the same thing with the mirror. If you want a different image to shoot back at you from your mirror, then you have to start changing your image. And that takes systematic practice, awareness, of what it is you're projecting, all of that stuff. And that can be, painful, kind of like waking up in the morning and going to the gym when you're not seeing results. But as soon as you start seeing results, then it's easy because you're like, oh, this is working for me, right? Oh, it really does work when I'm giving instead of taking, or it really does work when I'm, whatever it is, like however you get confirmation. But I think most people get super discouraged because they don't see it happening. They think it's not working. This is how it is with goals. This is how it is with intentions. This is how it is with the mirror amalgam. This is how it is with everything. But if you can stick with something, set an intention, and here's the thing, you don't have to figure out all the ways to manipulate the mirror. Just try to think of what you can do for now, set the intention, make a commitment that you're going to stick with it until you see some results. And then slowly your world starts to show you more ways that you can act, or better, higher ways of thinking, or whatever it is. It'll sort of lead you down the path once you kind of, get yourself upright and going in that direction. It's like, I don't know, taking the wheels off of the training wheels off of a bike or something like that. Once you're up and you're going, your world's going to help you to continue feeding to that mirror what you need to in order to get more and more back your way. And then it just sort of exponentially increases. I know that's a little bit vague, but that's kind of, it's about commitment. It's about really setting the intention. It's about being creative, ways that you can show your mirror a different image, and then really tuning in to your world and letting outer intention show you the way to, act in that higher way, or do that higher thing, or be that higher version of yourself, or whatever it is. So that's kind of my breakdown. What do you think of that?
The thing about mirrors is that they never show you the present. Mirrors always show you the past. Even literal mirrors in reality show you the past. The reflection that you're seeing is a tiny, tiny, tiny way in the past. It takes a certain amount of time for light to travel to your eye before you interpret it. So that's a literal mirror. And in terms of the wider mirror, as we talk about in the Transurfing reality creation awakening methodology, is that the mirror is always showing you the past. So if you find what the mirror is showing you is discouraging you, all it's showing you is the past. If you can get out of believing that the mirror is showing you a present condition but is only showing you the past, then you have a better chance of being able to transcend the disappointment when the mirror isn't showing you what you're doing now. The mirror will never show you what you're doing now.
Yes. I mean, that's kind of why Vadim came up with the whole, frame thing, I think. It's like you're acting so you affect that future frame, not your current moment.
If I look in a mirror, but there are a couple of things here. The first thing is, because the mirror always shows you the past, then any action you take now will take a lag time before it shows up in the mirror. So one of the ways that I deal with the mirror is by ignoring it altogether. So for example, again, taking a literal mirror, say you're looking at the bathroom mirror and you look at yourself and you've just stepped out of the shower and you're saying to yourself, ugh, I don't like what I see, which is a common thing that a lot of people have, right? If you keep looking at the mirror and you don't like what you see, you're going to get yourself into a vibrational or energetic state where you don't like what you see and you're continuing not to like what you see, and the mirror will continue to feed back stuff you don't like to see.
Yes, for sure.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes.
So what you do is that you stand in front of your bathroom mirror and you close your eyes. And now you frame a different image on the mirror of exactly what you would like to see.
Love it.
Doesn't matter what it is. I don't care. I don't have your body issues. Only you have your body issues, right? But it doesn't matter. But you are then shutting off the feedback mechanism that is triggering you.
Yes.
You are then in a position where you are out of the shower, you're still warm and wet and everything's nice, and you're in the process of drying, whatever it is, but you close your eyes and you're seeing in your mind's eye the image you want to see. And you do that for maybe a minute. And you may go through a quick version of the orange on the plate exercise where you're going through the visuals, the smells, the tactile, whatever it is, but you're projecting this future, this so-called future image onto a mirror that normally only shows you the past. Again, we're reversing causality. We're allowing the future to ripple back in time to the present. And then once you let that thing go, you will find yourself subconsciously acting through inspired action in ways that will further you getting to see that image that you want. If you don't like the way, if you think that you're too fat, then you just close your eyes, imagine a thinner version of you, let it go, and then all of a sudden you find that you're not eating as much and you're not even making an effort not as much. You're doing more exercise and you actually feel like exercise. You don't do what I do, which is often when I get the urge to exercise, I just lie down until the feeling goes away. You actually do something that is consistent with that manifestation. It could be, and again, the mirror is just a metaphor. It represents something. It could be a financial thing. The mirror could be the screen showing you your current bank balance. Okay, close your eyes. Imagine a different bank balance there. And you will find, after you've done the framing exercise, you start acting in ways that subconsciously will lead you there. And sometimes you're not even conscious of the process at all. Sometimes it just happens that things will happen, and only because you've changed your energy. And because you've changed your energy and you've changed your energy about the situation. So often the best way to deal with the mirror is to shut the mirror off altogether. If you've got a weight problem, throw out your scales or tape over the scales and put on the scales the weight that you want to be.
Love it. Yeah.
Right?
Well, I have my own little weight loss thing. Did you hear about that?
No. What's your weight loss thing?
So I actually developed a little formula and I used it and I lost like 7 pounds doing it and it was awesome. So what I did was I decided that I was just going to go back to a track where I weighed the same amount, and I was going to act and eat and exercise and think exactly how I did in my past, that I was at the weight that I liked. And it was just like I reverted back to my old mindset and the weight just came off like that. It just came off in like, I don't know, 6 weeks or something. It was super fast.
You could say that there was this weight, there was this module within your energetic sphere that was consistent energetically with being a particular weight and looking at a particular way. And all you did was access that. And a lot of people, their psychology, it works better for them to say, there was a time when I was in this state. All I need to do is recapture that energetic feeling, and then the state, you naturally will drift back towards that state, because it's all about the state that you're in, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. The physical then shows up because it can't help but do that when your mind, heart, and spirit are in alignment. And we often talk about alignment as well. I think that answers, the question as it was asked. Can you just repeat the question again?
How do I use the mirror technique and allow life to meet me halfway?
Yeah,
Out the world.
I think we've answered that.
Yeah, I'd say we did. How about you, Jonathan? You got anything you'd like to add or kick in?
I was going to suggest that the second you're able to manifest anything, you decide how you want to manifest in the future and pick a way that you decide is going to be the best and easiest for you. Because really all this stuff is about convincing yourself what works. So if you believe something hard enough, it's going to work for you. Like if you believe you can breathe underwater hard enough, it's going to work for you. I don't think you want to test that, but if you really had to, you could change your reality to where you have guilt. So think about deciding how you want to manifest as the first thing you do, because if it's not totally natural to you, then there's probably something that's going to work a little bit better for you. That's kind of like, it makes it easier to teach somebody once they realize that they have the freedom to change how they use it.
Say that one more time.
Okay. I get accused of not using baby steps a lot. Like I suck at explaining things in small details. So once you realize you can manifest, choose how you want to manifest. You don't have to do screens. You don't have to do a mirror. You could literally say, I'm going to say this phrase from now on and it'll work.
It's all meta power is what you're saying.
It's you're convincing yourself. It's about belief.
Yes.
This is why religions work, because people believe, they have faith. If you believe that whatever you're doing is going to change your reality, then it will work for you.
Oh, totally. I tell people this all the time. I mean, I'm inundated with questions constantly of, well, how do I use the plate? Do I use it like this? Or do you imagine that it's coming out like this? Or when it does that, what does this do? Or like with, what's some of the other ones? I have so many, like, well, what, the slide, that's another huge one. How long do I play the slide? What, blah, blah, blah. What, all these.
That's because they're not convinced. That's the problem. They ask questions because they need to be convinced, and you could read a million books about all kinds of reality choice. You could read about religions and philosophies until enough things combine to convince you that, hey, this stuff works.
Yeah.
Or you have enough random experiences that prove to you that this works.
It doesn't.
Then you're just going to keep searching until you find something that maybe works for you by accident. But this is why people are superstitious, because they happen to, they stepped on something that turned out to change their reality, and then they believed that black cats matter. So now guess what? For them, black cats matter.
I just gave the video on that. What was that today? The video on, you know, it's your thought, it's the way that it's your thought interpretation of anything that actually matters. It's not the actual thing itself. If we all of a sudden decided to collectively believe that if a black cat crosses your path, that meant that you were going to encounter a huge sum of money, and everybody started believing that, then that would trigger people to make money just as much as it would actually trigger the people believing that it creates bad luck. I mean, there is no luck. There is no bad luck. Jen, you said you had a question? Go for it.
Yeah. So related to this topic, Jonathan, you just said something about how if it doesn't feel natural to you, then it's probably not your method. So how do you guys know when it is not natural to you and therefore probably not your method? How do you know the difference between whether or not outer intention is telling you this isn't right, or outer intention is telling you this is right? And how do you discern, depending on where you stand in your perception of whether or not outer intention is trying to communicate something to you? How do you know if you're being stubborn or if it's truly outer intention saying, you know, this isn't the right path? I mean, what if it's not natural to me, so it feels like it's not the right path, but outer intention is leading me? Will it always feel natural if it's outer intention?
It's whatever you think it is.
Yeah, it's whatever you think it is.
Oh, come on.
No. There's no. There's a better. There surely is a better answer. Practice makes perfect, right? The more experience you have at something, and if you look at, and then we do go back into analysis mode, right? Because the more you experience something and you say, if I look at this historically, I remember feeling a certain particular way, and this is how things seem to turn out. I would suggest that one technique that you can do is start a diary, start a reality materialization diary, and just say, okay, today, this is my intention. This is what I'm framing. Give yourself enough time to let that thing work, and just on a daily basis, note what happened during those days between the time that thing, you intended that thing and that thing showed up. It's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
You're
So
trying to
it's
teach
not
somebody
like
how to
it's a
convince themselves of something, though. How do you teach somebody how to convince themselves of something?
Well, everybody differs on the amount of evidence that they need before they're convinced of something. And that's, again, a personal thing. I can talk to somebody blue in the face and give them any amount of evidence to show that their position is inaccurate. But if they are totally committed to a particular worldview, they will not change that worldview, no matter how much I throw at them.
Yes.
And that could be for any number of reasons. It could be that they have a spiritual agenda, that they want to experience life in a particular way, and there's nothing that little old me is going to be able to do to change that. Or it could be a process that takes decades before somebody has enough slaps in the face, enough punches, the rug has been pulled out from under them enough times that suddenly they'll one day wake up and say, you know what, this isn't working for me anymore.
Yeah.
And sure, in order to get anywhere, you need to believe that something is possible. You need to believe that following a particular methodology is going to get you your thing. Imagine that you're learning to play the piano. You know that it's possible because you've seen other people do it. You know it's possible to play the piano at a very high level, but you also need to know that you need a piano in order to do it, and you need to have a self that's capable of playing it. Somehow, between the time the person wasn't able to play the piano and the time that they're a virtuoso piano player, there were a series of steps, inspired actions that brought a whole bunch of things into alignment in order to get all of these various elements to the point where that person could perform a really great piano piece seemingly there effortlessly.
That's what I was just saying earlier, that, you know, all the components of my life have been me setting the intention that I was going to move in a specific direction. And I just continuously, like, I'm not a super young person anymore. You know, I've been doing things for a while, and like, it's getting back to that, you know, that idea that the mirror doesn't respond instantly. Most people want to change their reality right here in this moment. They don't want to set an intention and just be like, okay, that's the direction that I'm going to live in. It's not that I'm going to necessarily achieve that, you know, that the achievement of the thing should be forgotten. It's the direction of your movement, your thought energy, all your stuff, looking for more, looking for assistance, looking for information, evidence, and material to help support your new theory for yourself along the way. That's life. It's not like you're going to, you know, when somebody comes to me and they're like, man, can you tell me how to manifest $1 million right now? I'm just like, get out of here, you know? Like, that's not what it's about. Do you want to live like the person that makes $1 million, or do you want to have the $1 million? Because those are two totally different things.
Yes,
right?
they're asking the wrong question. But to answer the original question even more specifically, because you're trying to work out, how do I know when the feeling I'm getting is a feeling that's coming from the outside world or something from within myself, etc. It's going to be different for everybody. So you're going to have to work it out for yourself. But one thing that you can do is simply frame it. Say to yourself, what if I were the sort of person who knew the difference? What if I were the sort of person that if it's the right thing, I will feel a warm glow in my heart? But if it's the wrong thing, I'll feel a tension at the back of my head that I won't be able to resolve, right? So what you're actually doing is you're designing your detection system, right?
Yeah.
And you are free to create that detection system as well as you're creating anything else, when what we're really doing is we're moving into a stream where that is a reality for you. So you don't have to go blind. You can build a camera that can see the difference between a path that will work for you or not work for you. But you've got to be very clear on your intention. You've got to be very clear about, this is specifically what I want to manifest, and these are the reasons why I want to manifest it. I want to manifest $1 million specifically because I want to live how I imagine a person with $1 million lives.
It's about the self. It's not about the thing.
That might be two completely different things.
Yes.
So you need to explore the narrative of that as well, because you might be telling yourself something that's contradictory.
Yes.
It might not be the thing. People fixate on money because it's an easy currency to talk about, but forget money for the moment, forget whatever. In the end, everybody is looking for a particular feeling state, right? People imagine that they have $1 million in the bank and they're going to feel a particular way as a result of that. People imagine themselves living in a particular house or driving a particular car or living in a particular place because they feel that it will give them a particular state of being. People will want to go into a relationship because they believe that that relationship will give them a particular feeling of, oh, I am in love. I'm in a fulfilled relationship. I live in my ideal house. I drive my ideal car. I'm living in my ideal place. Everything is beautiful. And I have to be ready to accept that. I have to be willing to have that. Happiness is what motivates us. Yes, here we go from the barrier. Yes, but everybody has their own flavor of happy, right? So you've got to decide what it is that you think right now at your current level of consciousness is going to be happiness. You're going to have to work out what that means to you, how it's going to show up. But at the end of the day, you're only going to take the steps and embrace that reality because you believe that these things are going to give you that state of being. Once again, that's a bit backwards. The better way of going about it is to create a state in your imagination where the thing that you have is already fulfilled. In the process, then you ask yourself, I want to be alert to the signs and to the offerings of the universe as they come to me. I want to be alert there. So all you do is frame that too. I'm framing now, seeing myself or feeling myself into a space where I know. I don't know how I know, but I know. I know that acting in this particular way is going to take me one step closer to that feeling state. And then the rest of the world manifests or materialize to show up in a place that is consistent with that state of being.
You attract the stuff in that even just very, very slight embodiment of the thing. You then start connecting with the pieces that you pull in closer to you. Then you feel like it a little bit more, and then you gather more stuff, and it just sort of starts.
It builds on it, and it builds up. But what's actually happening, of course, is that you're not actually law of attracting it. You're actually moving onto a track where those things already exist.
Yes.
The space of variations is an infinite field of probability where everything that can manifest manifests, but you need to start off with an imaginative process. And this is where your imagination is your primary key. The primary tool of all of this stuff is an imaginative process where you bring yourself into a state, an imaginative state that you then embody, and then by doing that, you are changing your entire way of being, yes. Sometimes subtly, sometimes radically, but then that way of being can't help but move out of its current track because its current track is no longer compatible, yes, with that new way of being. So the way of being is jiggling around, vibrating at its new height and its new level, and say, okay, the track already exists. I'm just jumping over that. And that track and that jump sometimes is a very big leap. And one day you wake up and you're in a completely different reality. But most of the time you get there by increments. But the only reason that they're incremental is because you have not sufficiently changed to get that thing in the future. But you are incrementally changing along parallel tracks that get you closer and closer to the track that you will eventually be on. And it's an endless process because no sooner have you found yourself on a new track than you've upped your own ante on your expectations. And that's another thing.
You guys want to hear my really stupid joke on changing life tracks?
Please.
Really fast. So somebody said, hey, how can I change life tracks quicker? It seems to take so long. And I said, okay, I'll tell you how to change life tracks super, super fast. Pack a suitcase, jump in your car, drive 3 hours, pull into the parking lot of a motel, check in, walk across the street to a diner and ask if they have a waitressing job for you. There, you've just changed life tracks in 3.5 hours. Right? Because oftentimes, and I know this is crazy, all it takes is an actual physical move. If you can then adapt to whatever frequency, hopefully it's up, right? Hopefully it's better. But like if you decided right now that you were just gonna call it quits, whatever you're doing, you're gonna sell your house, quit your job, whatever, and go and upgrade somewhere, right? You're gonna go do something that you've always wanted to do or whatever, and you really felt like you could merge with a new reality, and you did, I mean, it might be a little bit rocky to start, you've changed life tracks super, super fast. It's not that hard. A lot of it has to do with the physical environment, right?
Sure,
A lot.
sure, but we don't want to be the whole point about transurfing or whatever modality you want to use is that you don't want to be throwing the dice like that unless you're pretty certain what you're doing. The whole point of inspired action is that you should feel inspired to do that, and then you don't know why, but you don't question it, and then you do go off on your little waitressing experience or whatever it is, and you find yourself in a new reality. And in fact, I've done that several times in my life myself, where I've simply just up and gone without any plan and said, what, fine. And then I sink or swim. Fortunately, I've usually swam, because if I had sunk, I wouldn't be here now talking. But changing life tracks isn't the issue. There's nothing difficult about changing life tracks if you take radical action. Changing life tracks through inspired action in a positive way.
Not totally like uprooting yourself, for sure. So Jen, to get back to your original question about how do I know, what I hear you saying is, I have this voice inside that maybe is saying no, but then outer intention's trying to show me something. How do I decipher if it's right or wrong for me? How do I distinguish the difference between the two voices? Is that right? Or what outer intention is showing you, or what the inner voice is saying?
I think maybe what I think, yes, that is one part. That's one possible scenario. And then sometimes it's also sort of going back to Renee, you mentioned in our being magnetic class, which is amazing, becoming magnetic, that we have a box and we sort of sometimes have to peek our head up outside of our box. We have a construct that we live within, and that includes all of our beliefs and the modalities that we use. But in order to get to the next level, sometimes we have to peek our head up. But if I'm going off of when I'm trying to take action, sometimes it doesn't feel right, and I can't tell the difference between it not feeling right because it doesn't feel right because that's outer intention saying this is not your path, don't do that. Or is it not feeling right because it's uncomfortable, because it's unfamiliar, because it's outside of my box? I think that's where I find that I personally struggle most of the time. The good news is I usually work through it. Eventually I'll find clarity.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I would suggest, unless there's a possibility of it causing some detrimental harm to you, do it. I mean, I'm doing all kinds of crazy stuff these days that I sort of feel like, God, is this really right? Should I do this? And then I'm like, what the hell? Who cares? Because I realize, and I've gotten a little more daring in some of the things that I've been doing lately. And when I do that thing, like some of the video topics I talk about, this is an excellent example, like those exposed videos, right? I was like, well, that's going to be out there forever. Should I do this? And I kind of have this feeling internally, like I do have that voice telling me no, but then at the same time, it's presented to me externally. And I'm like, okay, well, God, what should I do? And I actually really struggled, like the first one, releasing that. It took me a few days to finally press that send button and release it. But what I realized after I did that is that, one, nobody really cares that much. You know what I'm saying? All of my thoughts of what could go wrong or why I shouldn't do this or what it would mean for my future, none of it actually, nobody really cares. Nobody's, downloading the thing that if I wanted to delete it, it's going to be like, none of that stuff. It's all in my mind. And secondly, what I noticed is just taking that step, it helps me to know that. It helps me to see that it doesn't, all those things that you think are you're holding yourself back, or you should listen because something will happen and you don't know if it's the right thing, or it's out of your comfort zone, or it's, you know, acting in the opposite direction of a limiting belief and it feels whatever. When you start doing it consistently, you'll realize that there's actually no consequence. There's nothing that will happen to you. And then you can just start doing bigger things and bigger things and bigger things, because you're like, nothing can happen. And then even if something does happen, it doesn't even really matter, because then you have advantage anyway and you learned a lesson. Like, that's the worst case scenario at this point, is you learn a lesson. You know what I'm saying?
No matter what you get into, you can always get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One way or
but
another.
Here's my question. So here's what my heart was saying the whole time was, all I care about is whether or not my soul's happy. I don't care what anyone else thinks, but I'm so eager to behave and create a life that is in congruence with what my soul wanted. That
okay, when do you know when your soul is happy? When do you know that?
When
what's the sign?
I feel it. It's a feeling, it's a sensation, it's happiness and it's joy and it's congruence.
Then practice it every moment of the day. It can be as simple as you have 2 identical oranges in front of you, right? You're going to eat one and you're going to leave the other one behind. You just practice the feeling of, I've got to imagine too, right? Eating this orange, this one will make my soul happy. Eating this one won't make it as happy. This one's the one. Sometimes it's going to be a really, really subtle feeling, but it's illogical and irrational to assume that one orange is going to be better than another. Right?
Well, especially
nevertheless,
from the soul perspective.
But yes, exactly. This is what you're doing. You're training yourself to look at it from the soul perspective. You're saying, for whatever reason, my conscious material focused on the material body mind won't know the reason. Doesn't matter. Irrationally, whatever. I don't care. My soul says this, I pick this orange. And just do that with everything.
Okay.
Do it with everything. And just allow yourself the space, a few hours, maybe an hour a day if you can spare it, to just practice being in that state of being where you're making choices. Picking up an object, not picking up an object, sitting down somewhere, not sitting down somewhere. You don't have to be doing anything important, but you gradually strengthen your soul connection through these small, seemingly unimportant choices. But if you can, it's like when you're playing the piano, you are learning by playing one note at a time. And you press that note and you hear what it sounds like and you get the sensation in your body, ding, 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 ding. Okay. Right, I now know what that feels like. And at the end,
Xavier,
the most complicated.
I have to show you this. So, can you see my piano?
Oh yes, there you are. So
you keep, and there's a mirror on top. So you keep talking about this piano reference, and I'm feeling my soul saying, "Ding, ding, ding," because there's a piano right here.
Well, okay. So you already have a language. Music is a very powerful language to speaking with the soul, and this is something that can also be used in a framing exercise. If you sing or if you're musical, have a soundtrack playing in your imagination. Anything. Turn on the music. If you want to be in a state where you're just really feeling it and it's really zinging and it's really happening for you, do it. Do whatever you need to do to get into a vibrational alignment state between your heart and soul, so that you understand and you can really feel, or as I often say, taste the soul connection. Once you know what that looks like, feels like, sounds like, tastes like, smells like, once you can really get that.
One of my videos coming out is going to be called I Smell Oprah.
That's right. Good. Excellent.
And I am so looking forward to that moment to lean in and smell her and complete that frame. And I'm going to tell her about the thing. I'm going to say, this is it.
Find out if you can what Oprah's favorite perfumes are.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. And buy it and then just smell it like every day.
Yeah, and I'm just being radical here. If you have a friend who looks like Oprah, even superficially, spray it on her, and she's your Oprah stand-in, like in a movie where they've got stand-ins.
Yeah.
Or they've got stunt doubles. Find your Oprah stunt double and practice the frame.
Yeah. And I'll be like, hey, just stand there for the next 20 minutes. I'm going to do my lean in and
you've got a friend called May who looks like Oprah.
Huh?
You've got a friend called May who looks like Oprah.
I said that?
I don't know. I may have misheard. Do you have a friend who looks like Oprah?
No, I don't at this moment, but I could probably find one.
Yep. Find your Oprah stand-in.
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
You can do that with anybody. You can do it with a doll or something. You can do it even with an orange, and you can pretend the orange is Oprah. It doesn't matter.
Like Wilson.
It doesn't matter. But we're talking about all of this that we've been discussing today is about strengthening the connection. It's all about strengthening those psychic, spiritual, quantum senses and quantum muscles so that you are in a better frame of being, so that you know rather than you're just guessing.
Yes.
It's all about rehearsal. I'm a big believer in rehearsal. Rehearsal is like drafting a piece of writing. The draft is the rehearsal, then you go over it again and you refine and you polish until you get it right. But if you don't do it, if you can do it in a safe space when the things are unimportant, whether they happen or not, then you're in a much better position when you up your ante to materialize bigger and bigger stuff, because you're already used to it.
That's what I did with my videos. I just kept practicing, even though it was so fucking painful. I couldn't even, like, there were times I wanted to throw up and like scream at the same time, you know, just like, ah, I was so, you know, take after take after take. And I just forced myself, you know, to just keep like doing it over and over and over. And there were days where I did feel like I was just going to start crying, or I would go in and film for like 2 hours and I'd come out and say, none of it works, you know, or like the other day I went in and I filmed 6 videos, and then I realized that my mic wasn't plugged into my camera, and all the stuff was just no audio. And I was like, damn. But then I was like, you know what? That was actually perfect, because I just practiced 6 videos. So the next time I go to film those same subjects, they're going to be that much better because I just did it. And this has been like with my businesses, really just me sort of, and it's not doing it in an inner intention sort of way. It's just getting over the debris of my mind thinking that it's not for me, you know, or my mind.
Yeah, you're basically getting over yourself.
Yes. Yes.
You're getting over all of these impediments that exist only in your energetic space.
Yes.
They don't exist anywhere else.
Yes, your ego. Yeah, you're just slowly grinding your ego to a pulp.
I mean, if somebody could just tell you don't think, you would do it, because really, if you want to be successful at this, stop thinking and just let it happen. And it's easy. But I can see, like, Renee, I see that you doing this, and I see Jen, like, you guys really want it to work so badly that you're thinking, like, how can I make this work the best I can? You know, like, it's inner intention that you're using. Even though you're using all the techniques of reality transurfing, you still want it to work so badly that you're trying to do things in addition to just letting it happen. So broadly speaking, there are the thinkers and there are the feelers, right? And the trap for the feelers is that they can overfeel something. And the trap of the thinkers is that they can overthink something. But if you recognize whether or not, broadly speaking, you're a thinker or a feeler, then the thinkers really need to get more into their feeling and feel their way through and just quieten down all the thinking. And the feelers
need to get over feeling and maybe just do a little bit of thinking to get them through.
Yes.
Either way, overdoing either the thinking or the feeling doesn't helping, because it's overthinking and overfeeling is just another way of overdoing. And as we know, if we overdo, we create resistance, we create blockages, we create, what is it? What's the terminology?
Forces.
Excess potential.
Sorry? Excess potential. Thank you. Excess potential. We create too much energy around a situation that is inappropriate for vibrating at the level. It's like playing the piano too loud. And you've lost the subtlety of the effect that you're trying to create.
Wow,
Because
that
at
was
the
awesome.
end of the day, we're trying to create an effect, right? An effect for ourselves. We are trying to get in the mood of something. And if we can't, and we don't get in, and we need to have a much better appreciation. And as you become more advanced in these techniques, you get a better understanding of, in musical terms, the dynamics of a situation, how softly you play something sometimes, how hard you play sometimes. And it's not about saying that it's always softly and that's nice, or it's always hard and it's nice. Renee and I have a sort of mini banter going about me saying, start off slow, start off easy, progress. Renee has this sort of,
Do it all. Yeah,
I'll do it all at once, which says more about us as individuals than it actually says about the techniques or the paradigm.
Yes.
It says more about our personalities. But if Renee finds that going in at the deep end and really just diving into it, damn the torpedoes, works for her, great.
Die.
That's right. For me personally, I prefer a more softly approach. A slow and steady wins the race, tortoise-like approach sometimes, but sometimes I become a hare, because sometimes I feel this strong, inspired desire to go in full on, bang, 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 bang. No one note on the piano is better than any other.
Yes, isn't that the truth?
Right?
Yeah.
No one tool in a screwdriver is not superior to a hammer.
Yes.
Right? No one color in the color palette of a paint box is better than another color. Blue is not a better color than red or yellow or forest green or chartreuse.
Yeah.
Or royal violet. No one color is better. All of them are, no flavor is better than any other flavor, right?
Yeah.
Salt isn't better than sweet. They're just different. All of these are at your disposal, at your disposal. Everything that life offers you can become part of your repertoire through which you create the experience of your reality. My big shtick is to be a Renaissance guy, one who embraces the arts and the sciences and knowledge and religion and spirituality and objective, the subjective. All of these things are ripe for my picking. There's the banquet of life in front of me, saying, eat me, Exie, eat me, eat me, eat me. And there I am, calmly going through each dish, sampling and saying, I like that. Give me more of that. That's what I'm into. That doesn't even, but even that eclectic approach doesn't mean it's the only way of being in the world. There are some people who are born into this life and who have very, very specific ideas of what they want to do, what they want to achieve. And they have what, from my point of view, might be a very, very narrow life, but it might be a life in which they're specializing in a particular brand of excellence that can only be achieved through a deep dive in a very, very narrow band of experience. And other people are very broad.
This is the soul trail, right? I mean, this is getting in touch with what you're really made of, what you like, what you get heart and mind coordination over, what sort of mode
and where you're at, and where you're at. And it's not, and where you're at. So all of these techniques are simply about broadening the possibilities that are available to you. You do not have to play every note on the piano in order to get a really lovely tune. Some of the most beautiful tunes use very, very few notes. There's a particular piece by Handel called it's just a really, really simple tune. Danke zu dir, mein Herr. Anyway, it uses like about 5 different notes, but it uses them so beautifully that you're transported to another plane of existence. Dank sei dir Herr. That's what it's called, I think. Anyway, my point is simply that you can make, just as you can make a beautiful tune from very few notes, you can make a beautiful meal from very few ingredients, you can make a beautiful painting that just uses black and white and shades of gray. Beauty.
And somebody wanting something that someone else has, or wanting to do, it's like the person saying, hey, how do I manifest $1 million right now? I mean, it's like, do you really, you know, I mean, I think that's why my perceptions of money have changed so much since, you know, like 10 years ago. My perceptions of money, my reality with money has changed so much because, you know, I've encountered some very, very wealthy individuals, and I realize that is nobody to aspire to be. That is not somebody you'd want to aspire to be. That is not a reality you would want to live. You know, just like with celebrities and stuff like that. It's like, no, you don't want that. And that isn't you anyway. And if you had that suddenly, you would wreck it. You wouldn't hold on to it. It is about you choosing what is intended for you. That is where wealth is. That is why I am the way that I am right now, is because I've tuned into my thing. I found my thing. I was watching that, have any of you seen the Tony Robbins documentary on Netflix?
Yes.
Yeah, so remember when he was crying after he told that chick that she could go through the program to learn to do what he did? And remember, yes, they were interviewing him behind the stage, and they were like, why did you just give her that? You know, he probably gave her something worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know, and his mentorship. And he started crying, and he's like, I just have a profound and deep, insatiable desire to help people. That's just my thing. That's my thing, you know? And when he said that, I was like, oh, God damn, I know exactly what he's talking about, you know? Being in this mode with transurfing, accepting myself, accepting people are going to say bad things about me, and I might embarrass myself sometimes. All that stuff, none of it matters. None of it, I am in my zone, and everything else simply fades away, and this is my thing. And it's like, it's so cool because I feel, honestly, and I've said this a lot in some of my videos, and it's so true, I feel like something could happen to me financially tomorrow and I could get wiped out and lose my house, whatever. And I would probably be like a little bit rattled, but you know what? First of all, I know I'd get it back super fast. And secondly, I have this thing that I love to do, and it's kind of oddly enough. And I know it sounds like I'm a little bit of a, you know, it's over the top, but it is, because I am in my thing, at least for now, right? At least for now, this is my thing. I know that it could change. I could fall out of love with this whole thing and move on to something else.
But it's always at least for now. It's always at least for now.
Yes.
Because when you get to now, you're a different person, and you will want different things. But I would say that, for example, it's not possible to have what anybody else has, because what they have grows out of who they are.
Yes, absolutely.
And you could be in the same position, but you wouldn't have what they have because you're not them. They're experiencing their lives through their own being, and you're not them. So you don't actually know what they're experiencing, no matter what the outside details might be showing you. So to desire something that somebody else has is to miss the point entirely of your own uniqueness.
Oh, for
It
sure.
doesn't matter what other people have or what they're experiencing. You don't know what it's like being them in that situation. You're too busy being you. But if you do you properly, if you do you really well, it becomes gradually self-evident what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And if working for you, and if what works for you means staying in bed one day and just staring at the ceiling, totally content to just stare at the ceiling all day in bed, good for you.
Yeah.
And if it works for you to just go out there and build a great media communications empire, the Transurfing Institute, your crystal cathedral of transurfing, then you do you.
Totally.
Totally. I mean, you're not robbing me of anything by creating that reality. In fact, nobody ever robs anybody else by creating a reality. To believe that other people are diminishing you by achieving something of their own is crazy.
But you are robbing yourself if you go after a reality that's not intended for you. 100%.
And by intended, one that isn't congruent with who you are or who you aspire to be.
It's got to be congruent. It's got to be congruent. You can't, I think that's the bottom line of it, you know? I mean.
And the bottom line is don't cheat yourself. Do not sell yourself short. You're probably a lot more. In fact, I can guarantee, and not only for everybody here, but everybody listening, but for everybody on the planet, you are so much more than what you're already experiencing.
Yep.
You already are so much more. All you need to do is awaken to it.
Hey, did you guys see that weird video on the Facebook group? I'll send it to you, Xavier, of the two girls talking. And the one says, hey, what's the craziest thing you ever experienced? It's like they're talking telepathically, and they're like aliens on another planet, but they're in the form of two little girls. So their mouths aren't moving, but it's just like voiceover. And one girl asks the other girl, what's the craziest thing you've ever experienced? And she goes, the craziest thing I ever experienced was going to the planet Earth. And she goes, whoa, you've been to Earth? And she's like, yeah, it was super, super weird. And then she goes into this story of how everybody's sleeping and nobody's really aspiring, nobody's actually maximizing their fullest potential. And it's like a 10-minute video, and it is mind-blowing. It is so cool. I'll send it to you, Xavier, and it's on the Facebook group, guys. I'll tag you guys in it. It's really amazing. And it is, and this is really this is really my, you know, if there's an undercurrent sort of flowing through me at this point in my life with all the knowledge and stuff that it's things that I've seen and all the stuff that I've gained and using transurfing to do all these different things and all this stuff, I know now that I am still only working at a fraction of my potential. You know, that the potential really is. And you look at some people, you know, and they're a little bit closer to their potential. I mean, Oprah, right? That's kind of a big one. And I know she's a little bit, Xavier, you're not a huge fan of Oprah, but she's maxed out, right? She's kind of like maybe she hadn't hit the ceiling, but she's pretty close to it, or she has been in her life. And so have some other people. Trump is another one, right? He's kind of maxed it out. Obama maxed it out. There's been a number.
But don't fall into the illusion of thinking that just because somebody is famous and rich or powerful, that's the only way to max out your potential. I don't think it's about fame or wealth or anything like that. I think it's about honestly, now that I'm juggling so much and I'm doing so many different things, and my threshold for stress and what I'm capable of doing on a daily basis is all evolving. What I see it now, it's not the fame or the wealth. It's the ability to handle the stress and juggle the empire and get into all those different working parts and be consistent each day and keep doing it and adding things on. That's now I'm going to start a magazine. Now I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to do that. And just being able to do all that stuff like Trump, you know, I'm going to be this and I'm going to be that. And you know what? Now I'm going to be president and I'm going to do this and now I'm going to do that. And it just I think that's a very interesting measure. How many plates can you keep spinning on those sticks
Yes.
Some people
And if
want
you,
more than they can handle, though.
well, this is
Some
the
people
thing.
like that experience of having more than they can handle.
Well, yeah, and but then that has its own ups and downs as well. However,
It's excitement for them.
it is, yeah, exactly. And some of us are perhaps a little bit more sedate and are quite happy to have one plate spinning beautifully but perfectly. But hey, whatever floats your boat, baby.
Exactly.
Hey,
As
Whatever
long,
everyone's
floats
but
your
right.
boat.
as
I
long,
know.
but the the big thing for me is like just don't sell yourself short.
Don't sell
If you
yourself
can,
short.
if you can be more than you are, if you can embrace more than you already are embracing, if you can have more, if you can just become a greater version of yourself, well, go ahead.
Yes, and be comfortable with whatever it is you choose rather than, unless you like the discomfort, right?
Unless you like the discomfort, unless you like the buzz of being always on the edge, flying by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
Oh, it could all fall apart now, but oh, I'm so excited and I wouldn't want to live any other way. It's just, oh,
Exactly.
yes,
I
yes,
know,
I
I
love
know,
it.
I know a lot of people would probably not feel well being me. I know my grandfather who constantly, whenever I'm around him, says, I don't know how you're doing this. And why don't you just have a normal job? It's so much easier. And it's so much, I think if we were to do one of those like soul swaps real quick and he had to live in my shoes for a day, he would come undone.
He'd blow a fuse and you would starve to death from lack of stimulation.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You,
It's
you,
really about
your,
what you want to do.
yeah, where you are in your state of being is that you have everything that you have in your life now is a direct result of needing to feed the hungry soul that is currently manifesting as Renee Garcia. In the
Yes,
same way that everything I'm doing is to feed the hungry soul that is Xavier Watercane.
yeah,
Everybody is feeding their hungry souls in whatever way works for them in the moment for the time being until they change and their viewpoint changes and then they look for something else. And then we're involved in the endless game again of playing endless catch up with ourselves because we're, in a sense, we're always chasing the shadow of the person that we will become.
that is true. And I realize now I never want to feel like I've caught that shadow.
You
know,
won't. You
I
can't,
don't want
because
to.
you
That's my
can't.
worst fear is to, even just today, like my boyfriend was gone today on business and I had like 3 hours between my last call and this. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get in the sun and I'm just going to relax and kind of just like hang out. And for a second, I had this little bit of panic where I was like, oh my God, is this what it feels like to be old?
That's how you get out of the game, Renee.
I was like, oh no, I'm like, I don't like this. I got to do something. Like,
When you hit your optimal path, you're out of the game. That's it. You get to
uh,
run the game. Once you hit your optimal path, you get to run the game. You don't get to play the game anymore. You're done. That's like you win the prize. Once you're on your optimal path, you're done playing this game.
I don't want to win I don't want to win the prize.
Well, you get to help everybody else win.
Or win and then learn to play a new game.
Yes, there it is.
Right. Everything changes after that. You've mastered this environment. Now it's time to do something else, which you have no idea what it's like.
I've become the virtuoso piano player. I cannot play the piano any better than this. I think I'll take up the violin, or maybe I'll give up music altogether and try surfing.
Yes, there you go.
Or painting, or anything. The sheer amount of things that are available in the human experience is so vast.
Oh,
It
yes,
would take a million lifetimes to explore all of them. And even then you've barely scratched the surface, because after a million lifetimes, the world will have progressed by a million lifetimes and there will be a whole bunch of new options that have opened up that weren't dreamt of when you first began that journey to experience as much as you could.
Yes, but go after something. So before this call, gets too lengthy, I actually want to post this all in one video.
Oh, do you?
I'm
Okay.
gonna leave everyone with one of the things that Tony Robbins said in the documentary that I just watched. He said, "Go after something, otherwise you will settle for nothing." And I just loved that, you know? It's like, it doesn't matter what it is, just go after something, otherwise you will just sort of settle, right, for nothing. So, but if you want to settle for nothing, then, and you like that, then that's totally totally your deal, you know? To each his own. Evidence to support all theories. Maybe living a life of nothingness is where it's actually really at.
For that person at that time. Hey.
Yes, exactly.
You might not be able to change your mind though. If you grow or die, if you stop growing and you die, you can't change your mind after that. That's it. When you remove yourself from existence, there's no going back.
Yeah, but there's no there's no option to remove yourself from existence. Not really. That's just another illusion.
Are
Yeah,
you
you're
saying
stuck
that
with it.
it's impossible that there's a reality where you don't exist?
Well, that's a subject for a whole other video.
Hey, maybe we should do that. Our next one, maybe we should talk about death, incarnation, and
Absolutely, and the crucial difference of
nothingness.
being and non-being.
Yes.
I've got a lot to say on the subject.
Oh, great. That would be a good one. Are you guys down, Jonathan and Jen? You want to do another one?
Yeah, this is fun.
Well, maybe we'll do another one, because I have like these little moments of panic, like thinking about death. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to stop.
I wanted to say something to Jen because you know, I could feel her anxiety about doing this right, and everybody's here. We're all here. So whatever happened, you ended up in the same place that we all did. So, you know, don't think that anybody's got a better handle on it than you do.
Exactly.
I don't think I feel that. I think I admire the shit out of all of you, and I just want to know how your mind works so that
But you're here too. See?
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. You're here too.
Exactly.
You're not like just coming in to talk to people that know something more than, I don't know anything more than anybody else. I know different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
That's all, I love that. I love hearing the different things. And I do have this eagerness, but I don't feel it's anxiety or worry. It's like I just love the hell out of my soul, and I just want to align with it, you know. I'll get there.
You're there right now, girl.
Well, another way of looking at it is that you're already aligned, and you're only not aligned to the extent that you think you're not aligned.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
So if you remove your preconceptions about non-alignment and imagine yourself aligned, you can't, as I often say, you cannot become what you already are.
You're already perfect.
Yes.
You just have to wait. You just have to awaken. You just have to awaken to that.
You're right. You're right.
Totally. You just got to
just slap yourself around. Just do this. Just
yes.
It is true. And Jonathan, I thank you for your sensing of my energy, because it is true that historically I find perfection in everyone outside and not here. So you're not wrong in what you're picking up on, but I'm getting way better.
Everybody does the best they can with what they know, right? So you're included, and everybody also feels like I'm just not doing enough, because like I could always be better, I could always be more, but you have to be happy with where you are right now.
And I hope that's true of everybody listening. And thanks to everybody who listened.
Yes. Thank you, Marwa.
Thanks for doing this.
Haas, who enjoyed this without being present, but we appreciate you showing up, and everyone that showed up and left, and everyone that watched this to the end. And yes, look for more from me and Xavier and Jonathan and Jen, and maybe we'll become a dream team and we'll all go out on the stage with Oprah together. Well, thanks so so much for calling in, everybody. And I will send you all the link when this is getting ready to post. And Xavier, I'm going to send you that little video of those two girls talking. That's super cool. And I will
I think
tag
I'll be
you.
able to relate to them completely.
Yes. It's good. It's very creative. Let me just say that. So, all right, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Please comment and like this video if you do, in fact, like it. And see you next time. Bye.